Discover the incredible journey of Mitsubishi, 3 diamonds behind a life-changing transformation. In a small Midwestern town where grit runs deeper than the mud on a pickup truck, Jake, a humble mechanic of 34, found himself trapped between the weight of his father's legacy and his own buried dreams. The world beyond the family garage blurred, swallowed by the echoes of a factory closing decades ago. No young boy should ever have to feel crushed by dreams. But in this town, hope had sputtered out long ago, leaving nothing but grease-stained overalls and tire treads that spoke of a past forsaken. Day in and day out, Jake worked tirelessly, his hands steady yet burdened, repairing the cars that rolled through the door. Community barbecues and local church potlucks filled the air with laughter. Yet beneath the surface lay a tension born from fear that felt heavier with every passing day. As his father's retirement savings dwindled, the garage had become not just his family's livelihood, but the heart of the community. The laughter shared over oil changes and tire rotations masked the panic behind unspoken fears of letting go. And then, one sweltering afternoon, as Jake sorted through forgotten items in the attic, he came across an old dusty box belonging to his late grandfather. Inside lay a treasure map, a handwritten letter, and an unexpected connection to Mitsubishi. His grandfather's pride for American engineering ignited a flicker in Jake's heart, awakening dreams he had buried under years of hard work and loyalty. Could his grandfather's legacy signal a chance to breathe new life into the family business? But that hope quickly met reality. Rumors spread of a wealthy corporation poised to bulldoze the garage for a high-end dealership, and it felt as if a dark cloud loomed over the community. The tension crackled in the air, igniting heated discussions in town meetings. People feared that welcoming outsiders would betray everything they held dear. Jake stood at a crossroads, torn between reviving his dreams or protecting the roots that held his family and their history firmly in place. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Battling the rising swell of doubt, Jake felt his community's collective spirit wrap around him. Neighbors rallied, echoing pride and nostalgia at town gatherings while confronting their fears. They debated morality against necessity, principles against progress, sparking conversations that resonated far beyond the dusty streets. The weight of tradition bore down as whispers of ambition thrummed through their hearts, knitting them tightly as guardians of their own narrative. Just then, a shocking revelation rippled through the garage, shattering the fragile peace. Jake realized the decision he faced extended beyond the mechanics of business. It was a defining moment for their very essence as a town. As dreams clashed with tradition, an unstoppable force trembled on the horizon, leaving them to wonder. Could they nurture their legacy while still embracing change, or would their dreams crumble beneath the weight of fear? The garage, forever a fortress of hope, hung in the balance, clutching tight to the dreams that awaited rebirth. The town buzzed with an energy Jake hadn't felt in years. Conversations crackled like static in the air as neighbors arrived at the garage for an impromptu meeting. The decision loomed heavy, yet within that weight flickered a shared determination. This wasn't just about Jake's family or the garage. It was about their very identity as a community. He stepped out of the office where the sunlight spilled like gold through the dusty window, illuminating faded posters of classic cars, echoes of a bygone era. The familiar clang of wrenches and murmur of engines provided a backdrop to the whirlwind of thoughts racing through his mind. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the people gathered around the rustic wooden table in the workshop, their faces a mixture of resolve and concern. "Jake, we're with you," called out Marie, the local librarian, her face earnest. "We can't let them take this away. This garage is part of us." Her voice resonated deep within Jake, mirroring the hopes he held close to his heart. "I don't know if we can fight big money," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Doubt crept in, threatening to snuff out the flicker of hope. "It's not just about the money," chimed in Frank, the town's mayor, rugged hands resting on the tableless edge. "It's our heritage. We're all in this together." The solidarity in his words warmed Jake's heart, igniting a spark he thought was extinguished. As they exchanged ideas, strategies began to take shape, breathing new life into the room filled with familiar faces. Their conversations evolved from fear to action, ideas flowing as freely as the coffee poured into mismatched mugs. They would host town hall meetings, gather stories of the garage, and bring in every voice eager to stand against the looming darkness. A sense of camaraderie swelled, pulsing like a heartbeat. Each tale shared of a first car, a love story forged over repairs, or dreams passed down through generations piled upon one another. Jake looked around at the faces of those he had grown up with. In that moment, he realized how precious their shared memories were, the legacy they all represented. "I found something in my grandfather's attic," Jake finally said, his voice steadying. The murmurs hushed as they turned to him, anticipation in their eyes. He had a map and a letter to Mitsubishi. "I think it might hold the key to revamping the garage to show them that we're not just a memory. We're a living story." Excitement rippled through the group. They leaned in closer as he unfolded the plans he envisioned, grasping the promise of new beginnings while honoring the past. He felt the weight of expectation lift, replaced by a fierce determination to protect what was rightfully theirs. Yet, even as hope blossomed, lurking shadows whispered fears that clawed at the edges of his mind. What if the corporation wouldn't budge? What if his plans fell through, leaving behind only fragments of dreams? Just as those thoughts threatened to drown him, a knock at the garage door shattered the tension, sending a jolt of apprehension through the gathered friends. Jake turned, heart racing, to face the unknown. Who could it be at this hour? What could they bring that might shift the tide, for better or worse? As he swung open the door, the chill of uncertainty wrapped around him, the air thick with potential. Standing there was a figure he hadn't anticipated, a voice from the past ready to confront the future. "Jake?" The voice called, tinged with familiarity and urgency. "We need to talk now." Jake's heart sank as he recognized the figure standing in the doorway. It was Lily, the girl he had grown up with, now a woman whose presence felt both comforting and unnerving. They hadn't spoken in years, their paths diverging when she moved to the city for a job that had promised her the world. Yet here she was, drawn back into the small town they had once vowed to escape. "Lily," he muttered, his mind racing. "What are you doing here?" "We need to talk," she said again, her tone leaving little room for hesitation. The urgency behind her voice snapped Jake to attention. He stepped aside, inviting her into the garage, the flickering lights overhead casting shadows on the faces of his gathered friends. "Everyone, this is Lily," he introduced, feeling the weight of their shared history. "She was well, she's from here." Lily's eyes swept over the group, a mix of recognition and nostalgia lighting her features. "It's good to see familiar faces," she said softly, but it was Jake's expression that drew her attention back, fragile and uncertain. "Are you back for good?" he asked, his curiosity overpowering the knot of emotions in his stomach. Her response came with a heavy pause, a sigh that spoke volumes of the year she'd spent away. "Not exactly," she began, biting her lip. "I came to help. My company wants to buy the garage." An avalanche of emotions surged through Jake. Frustration, disbelief, and that ever-present spark of determination flared again, coating his thoughts with a murky haze of conflict. "You're kidding, right?" he spat, struggling to keep his voice controlled. "I don't want this to happen," she rushed to explain. "But they think they can turn it into a chain. They don't see what this place represents. I thought maybe we could find a way to, change their minds?" Her voice trembled slightly, revealing the vulnerability that lurked beneath her composed facade. For a moment, the workshop was silent apart from the hum of engines outside, each person absorbing her words like daggers stabbing deep into the essence of their gathering. Jake felt his heart heavy. Could he trust her? Was this just a ploy? Frank leaned forward, eyebrows knitted. "Why should we believe you? I have access to information." I can show you the financial records and projections. If we put together a solid proposal, they might reconsider. She gestured broadly. I could help you collect stories. Show them what the garage truly means to this town. Jake could feel a storm brewing inside him. Here was Lily, willing to offer help when he expected nothing but roads paved with corporate greed. Yet another part of him screamed. Had she ever appreciated what this garage meant? Were her motives entirely altruistic? He took a deep breath, feeling the collective gaze of his friends as they waited to see how he would respond. If we're in this together, you have to promise no backtracking. We can't afford any slip-ups, he said, every word laden with hope and caution. Lily nodded, determination sparkling in her eyes. Promise, Jake. I want to help. The group exchanged glances, a flicker of consensus drifting through the air like an electric charge. But doubt still clung to Jake like an old coat. Let us start with those records, Jake said finally, wanting to believe, wanting the trust that felt so fragile right now. Let us see what we're up against. As they turned towards the table to begin planning, Jake was suddenly struck by the realization that their hopes lay in unknown hands. Could Lily really be trusted? Would her return exacerbate old wounds or forge new alliances? In the chaos of competing emotions and converging destinies, hope and apprehension wove together like two threads of a tapestry, fragile and beautiful. He felt it whip and swirl around him, and as the air thickened with the birth of a plan, he knew their next steps would shape the very essence of their fight. One thought echoed in Jake's mind amid the clamor. A life-changing transformation didn't just come from hard work. It often required trusting those you weren't sure could be trusted. But as shadows loomed, he couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere, lurking in the shadows of this pursuit, lay a truth he wasn't ready to confront. What would he discover if he peeled back the layers of loyalty and ambition? Each heartbeat echoed with the unanswered questions that hung heavily in the air. The plan took shape as they gathered around the table. Jake felt the weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders, and he could sense the tension radiating from the group. Lily pulled out her laptop, her fingers dancing over the keys, as she brought up a series of spreadsheets and reports. Here, she said, pushing the screen toward Jake. These are the projections for the garage. If they close this place down, the loss for the community goes beyond just a business. They don't realize how important it is. It's a piece of home. Jake studied the numbers, wondering how they could flip this situation. It wasn't just about saving the garage. This battle was for everything it represented: friendships, memories, and the spirit of their small town. Each column felt like a countdown, a reminder of how few chances they had left. Look at this, Lily pointed, her voice warming with passion. We can argue about the local economy and frame our campaign around community support. We gather testimonials, something that shows just how loved this place is. It's about the stories. Lily's enthusiasm lit a fire in Jake. He could feel the pulse of possibility. Still, it wasn't that simple. The shadows of doubt loomed. But if your company's pulling the strings, what happens when they come for this place? Lily looked down, the flicker of vulnerability returning to her eyes. That's the risk. But if we do this right, I believe we can change their minds. I don't want the garage to be just another chain. Trust me, Jake. Trust. A word that had slipped away between the cracks of their lives. Can we really change their minds? He asked, earning skeptical looks from Frank and the others. We have to try, Frank offered, crossing his arms. What's the worst that could happen? Jake raised an eyebrow, an uncomfortable grin resting itself on his face. You mean besides losing everything we care about? Lily leaned in. No, really. What's the worst? We're already fighting an uphill battle. If we don't stand up for what matters, we've lost before we start. Sometimes, change begins with a single voice. Ready to be that voice? Her determination pierced through Jake's unease. Yet the questions gnawing at the pit of his stomach remained. Could they really sway a corporation with heartfelt stories? Would Lily's involvement put them in greater danger? Let us gather the stories, Jake decided, feeling a surge of commitment. We'll need everyone's help. Each story, each voice counts. As they began discussing the best way to approach it, Old friends shared laughter and memories, reigniting bonds that had long been dormant. For a moment, the air felt lighter, hope weaving a delicate thread through their conversation. But as dusk settled outside and the headlights of passing cars reflected off the garage windows, Jake was abruptly reminded of how fragile this moment was. Realization gripped his heart. This was more than just business. This was about people's homes, dreams, and futures. Yet a deep uncertainty festered. He glanced at Lily, wondering if her intentions were as pure as she declared. But what she didn't expect was that Jake still held a piece of their past against her, an old hurt, a lingering doubt. Would her presence help mend their broken community, or did it open a Pandora's box of pain? Before the night ended, they made a pact to meet the next day, fueled by determination and a shared cause. However, a whisper of concern curled around Jake's heart, a question he couldn't shake. Would the pursuit of their dreams lead to salvation, or would it expose truths better left buried? As they dispersed, leaving the garage empty save for the shadows, Jake found himself staring at a poster on the wall, a tribute to years of hard work and camaraderie. What other secrets did this place hold? He wondered, and just then, he couldn't help but think. When would it all come crashing down? Morning light filtered through the cracks in the garage, casting a mosaic of shadows on the floor. Jake arrived early, feeling the anticipation bubble within him. Today was the day they'd start collecting those stories, the heartbeat of their community. He set 2 folding chairs outside, welcoming the first visitors. Frank arrived with his grumpy yet lovable demeanor balancing the mood. "You really think this will work?" he asked, scratching his head, skepticism evident in his eyes. "It has to," Jake replied, trying to imbue confidence into every syllable. "We need to show them how much this place means. It's more than just oil and grease. It's our community." As the morning rolled on, the familiar faces of neighbors and old friends began to trickle in. Each came armed with their own memories, an arsenal that could spark change. A single Canada goose honked overhead, as if rallying them to action. Willie, an elderly mechanic with rough hands and a gentle heart, spoke first. "You kids grew up here," he said, his voice a raspy reminder of late-night shifts and shared laughter. "This garage isn't just a building. It's where I taught your fathers to fix their first cars. It's where I fought tooth and nail to keep this dream alive." He chuckled, his eyes misting. "And believe it or not, your dad always struggled with that engine block." Laughter erupted, filling the garage's old walls with warmth. Stories poured forth, painting a vivid tapestry of moments: first cars, relationships formed, parents bonded. With each tale, Jake felt the weight of their significance grow. But in the midst of the warmth, a tightness formed in his chest. The door swung open. Lily strolled in, laptop under her arm, and the energy shifted. Faces flickered to her, uncertainty mingling with curiosity. Somewhere in the crowd, Jake felt the quiet judgment. "Hi everyone," she said, her voice mixing with nostalgia. "I believe your stories matter. I want to listen. Let us make these voices heard." Soft applause broke out, but a heaviness lingered. Jake watched her. Would she find sincerity in all this? Or would she find a way to chalk it up as just another fleeting moment? As the stories rolled on, one by one, more people joined the circle. One mother recounted how she'd learned to change a tire here with her son, laughing about the screeching argument they had over which wrench to use. Another shared tales of legendary car races held in the parking lot under the stars. They were all fueled by something deeper, a sense of belonging, a connection to the very metal and concrete around them. Yet the lingering shadow returned to Jake's heart. It seemed every story shared again reminded him of what Lily represented. Hidden hurt morphed into resentment with each shared memory, imploring him to wonder if she would betray them all again. Midday crossed into the afternoon, and the doors felt like they were bursting with energy. The stories hung like a fine mist in the air. As the laughter faded away, Jake felt his voice rise within him. "Let us take these stories to the city," he announced, excitement sparking in the air, igniting a new determination in the group. "Let them know why the garage matters. We make a unified front and we just sit back and watch." But before they could rally together, A sharp knock echoed against the door, startling everyone. As they turned, Jake's skin prickled. Anxiety gnawed at his spine. Was it too soon? Had someone from the corporation come to silence them? The door opened slowly, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows. A familiar face emerged, one that sent a ripple of anxiety coursing through the crowd. Jake's heart sank. What now? Would the arrival of this unexpected visitor shatter the fragile hope they had built? The door creaked open fully, revealing Tom, the city councilman. His sharp suit felt out of place against the backdrop of grease-stained walls and rusting tools. He stood at the threshold for a moment, eyeing the crowd. Jake felt the collective breath of the room hitch, tension spiraling like an uncoiling spring. Tom was known for his silver tongue and ruthless push for urban development, always ready to snuff out anything that stood in the way of progress. "Hello, everyone," Tom said, unabashed. "I hear there's a rallying cry happening here. Thought I'd come see what all this chatter was about." His eyes flicked between Jake and Lily, a shrewd glint in them. "What are you doing here, Tom?" Frank's voice cut through the silence, rough and unyielding. "This isn't a meeting for you to sell your empty promises." Tom waved a dismissive hand, a cocky smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "Relax, Frank. I'm not here to fight you. I just want to understand the passion behind this place." Jake's heart raced. This was their moment. He stepped forward, fueled by a mix of hope and urgency. "We're here to tell the stories that matter. To show that this garage isn't just a building waiting to be bulldozed. This history, it's our history." A ripple of murmurs ran through the crowd, and Jake felt the heat of their gaze, urging him on. "Your stories are important," Tom said, but the insincerity dripped from his words like oil from a leaky engine. "But do they matter enough to the larger community? To the folks who don't have a personal connection? The question is, can the city really support this old garage?" Jake clenched his fists. "This isn't just about the garage. It's about the people, the memories made here. This community built it. It's a heartbeat we can't just turn off." Tom's expression shifted, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. "Sure, but can you also tell me how this translates into profit or progress? Because the city has plans, and I promise you they don't include this relic." Lily stepped in, her laptop open, fingers poised above the keyboard. "Maybe we should turn that into a new opportunity," she suggested, her voice steadying the air filled with uncertainty. "If the stories resonate, they can translate into something real. A campaign, funding, awareness. We can showcase what this garage means through your eyes." The crowd shifted again, and Jake caught her gaze, reading a million thoughts behind it. Would she play the game with Tom, or did she truly believe in what they were doing? What if we gather these stories, create something people can see, something tangible? Lily continued, her fingers tapping against the keyboard like a heartbeat. "If we reach out to the city, show them who we really are, maybe we can partner instead of fight." Jake's heart pounded at the possibility. He turned to the crowd, hope intertwining with fear. "It's up to us now. We need every story, every voice. Let us show them we're not just fading memories, we're alive, and we matter." "I think you've caught people off guard, kid," Tom remarked, folding his arms smugly. "But let's see if you can elevate this beyond a sentimental gathering." With eyes narrowed, he took a step back, as though measuring his distance from their collective spirit. Suddenly, the mood shifted, raw encouragement flowing from the crowd. "We can do this," someone shouted. Others joined in, building momentum. But just as Jake felt the fire ignite within him, echoing throughout the room like a heartbeat loud enough to drown out Tom's doubts, he noticed a shadow moving at the edge of his vision. He turned, squinting into the dim light where a teenager stood, clutching a crumpled paper, his own face pale but determined. "That's my story," the teenager whispered, breaking the clamor that had filled the garage. As the entire group turned to face this unexpected voice, Jake's heart sank. What story was about to unfold? Would it strengthen their cause or unravel everything they worked for? The room fell silent, all eyes drawn to the teenager, a nervous energy rippling through the crowd. Jake leaned closer, curiosity and concern warring within him. This was no ordinary moment. This was a potential lifeline or a devastating blow. The teenager took a deep breath, steadying himself. His voice trembled slightly. I didn't know anyone would care about my story. I mean, it's just my life, right? Your life is important. Lily interjected, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. Please share it with us. He unfolded the crumpled paper, revealing a piece of handwritten text, edges worn and dog-eared. He read, his voice growing stronger with each word. This garage is where I learned to fix my dad's old truck. It's where my family spent weekends together, turning wrenches and sharing laughs. It's not just a garage, it's a place of memories. Jake felt his heart swell. The stories were starting to take shape, stitched together with emotion and experience. Others around him nodded, faces reflecting understanding and nostalgia. Each one realized they had similar tales nestled in their hearts. Then the teenager paused, looking up. But last week, I overheard my mom on the phone. She was worried about the garage going away. It felt like everything we built was going to be taken from us. I just felt so helpless. There was a collective gasp from the crowd, empathy washing over them like a rising tide. Jake caught Lily's eye again, sharing a silent agreement that this was more profound than they had anticipated. You're not helpless, Jake called out, stepping forward once more. We can do something about it. Your story matters. Every story here matters. Together, we can turn this place into a beacon of hope, a reminder of what we stand for. The teenager looked at Jake, uncertainty etched in his features. But then he nodded, his shoulders squaring with newfound resolve. Yeah, maybe it can be more than just memories. Maybe it can be a future. Exactly. Lily chimed in. What if we combine all these stories? We can create something that gives us a voice. We can reach out to the council, to the community. We can show them what it means to save this garage. Tom's expression darkened. Yet there was a flicker of unease beneath his arrogant veneer. You really think a few heartfelt stories can change anything? You'll need more than sentiment for that, he scoffed. But Jake sensed the hint of worry in his tone. Maybe it's worth a shot. A voice from the crowd called out. We can document everything. Visuals, oral histories, social media. Another shouted, excitement bubbling over. We can reach out to influencers, start a campaign. The energy in the room surged as ideas intermingled with passion. Jake felt alive. He turned toward the teenager. Let us get as many stories as we can. We'll make a digital archive, a collection of memories that show just how vital this garage is to us. A wave of determination washed over the room, knitting them closer together. For the first time, hope flickered in Jake's chest as each individual began to emerge, ready to share their unique tales. All right then, Tom retorted, a slight edge in his voice. Let us see if you can truly make this sync with the city's vision. But remember, sentiment alone won't keep your dream alive. As he stepped back into the shadows, Jake felt the challenge, but he sensed they had momentum now. This was more than just a fight against Tom. It was a chance to uplift their community. With the crowd now buzzing, Jake raised his hands, quieting them. Let us organize. Let us gather our stories. And let us show them the garage isn't just bricks and mortar. It's the heart of our community. The teenager stepped forward again, voice steady. And I know a few more of us who want to tell our stories. We can be something more than just memories. As Jake's heart thrummed with excitement, he felt a bond forming not just with the garage, but with everyone standing there. There was power in their unity. But as they began to strategize, the garage door rattled ominously, startling everyone. Jake turned his head in time, to see an ominous figure looming in the doorway, a reminder that their fight was only just beginning. What new challenges awaited them in the path ahead? The air crackled with tension as the figure in the doorway stepped into the light. It was Mr. Everett, the owner of the property, his face twisted in a mixture of annoyance and disbelief. Jake could feel the collective gasp from the crowd, a chorus of uncertainty hovering above them. What's going on here? Mr. Everett demanded, his voice sharp. I didn't give any of you permission to regroup in this garage. Jake swallowed hard, glancing at the teenager beside him, who looked like a deer caught in headlights. This was not the confrontation they had hoped for. As if sensing the team's resolve wobbling, Lily stepped forward, her chin high. "We're just discussing how important this garage is to our community, Mr. Everett. We want to show you that it matters." The old man crossed his arms, his brow furrowing deeper. "You think a few heartfelt stories can save this place? You're wasting your time. The city needs this land for development. There's nothing you can say that will change that." Jake felt the wind knocked out of him. The words fell like never-ending stones, each one weighing heavier than the last. He glanced at the gathering, noting the mix of determination and despair flooding their expressions. This was their defining moment. "Mr. Everett," Jake said, stepping closer, finding his voice despite the tremor in his hands. "You can't just bulldoze over what this place means to us. We want to show you that it's more than just an old building. It's history, it's memories, it's us." Lily nodded, rallying behind Jake. "We can create a community project. Show the city the value, the stories that can come from keeping this garage alive. We can work together. We want you to be a part of it." Mr. Everett scoffed, the corners of his mouth lifting in a dismissive half-smile. "You think they'll listen to a bunch of kids? This isn't a fairy tale." Frustration bubbled within Jake, but he bit his tongue. It wasn't just about Mr. Everett's opinion. They had people to rally, stories to share. He turned back to the crowd, catching the eye of the teenager. "Who's willing to share their stories? Who's with us?" A hand shot up, then another. The room transformed, a wave of voices rising. They began to pour out their tales, unique but echoing the same thread of love and loss, memories tied to every creak of the aging floorboards. Each story wove them closer, a patchwork of shared history that Mr. Everett's expression faltered, a flicker of surprise cutting through his stoic facade. This was not just noise. This was a symphony of significance. He shifted, unease playing across his features as the stories filled the space between them. "Maybe you can collect these stories," he began, voice slightly softer, almost tentative. "But it's still a long shot." Jake felt a swell of hope. They were gaining traction, even if it was small. "If we document everything, gather support, maybe we can show the city what this garage means. This place could be a center for community service, a creative space." The energy shifted. Excitement simmered as people began jotting down their memories, their faces lighting up with possibilities. But just as Jake's spirits began to rise, he noticed a shadow dart outside. The sudden notion of being watched sent a shiver down his spine. "Did you see that?" he whispered to Lily. "See what?" she asked, her brows furrowing with concern. "Someone's out there." Jake pointed toward the windows, heart racing. Everyone turned to look, the moment heavy with suspense. Who was out there? What did they want? As the door creaked again, Jake felt the balance they had built so precariously begin to waver. He had to find out. Stepping toward the door, he took a deep breath. "I'll check it out. Stay close, everyone." But what awaited him outside loomed larger than he imagined. And as he opened the door, Jake could only hope they were ready for whatever came next. Jake pushed the door open, the creaking hinges echoing through the garage. The cool night air seemed to wrap around him, mixing with the scent of oil and rust. He stepped out into the dim light of the parking lot and squinted into the shadows. "Hello?" he called, his voice echoing against the concrete. A few seconds passed, but only silence answered back. His heart raced, the darkness feeling alive, almost pulsing with anticipation. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a young woman around his age, her hair wild like it had just escaped a storm. She looked just as startled as he felt. For a moment they stood there evaluating each other. "What are you doing here?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady despite the flutter in his chest. "I saw the lights," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought maybe I could help?" "Help?" Jake echoed, a mix of confusion and hope. "You care about this garage?" The girl nodded fervently, stepping into the light. "Yeah. I used to come here with my dad when I was little. This place, it means a lot to me. But I heard it might be torn down. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Jake felt a spark of connection, like finding a kindred spirit amidst the chaos. We're trying to save it. We have stories, ideas like making it a community hub, you know? A flicker of excitement crossed her face. Really? That would be amazing. I have stories too. My dad used to tell me about the people who worked here, all the memories tied to this place. Before he could respond, the heavy garage door creaked again. He turned to see Mr. Everett looming in the entrance, his face darkening again as he caught sight of the girl. "What's going on here?" he barked, voice sharp enough to cut through the air. "Mr. Everett, she wants to help. She has stories just like us," Jake pleaded, stepping protectively in front of the girl. Mr. Everett's gaze shifted between them, skepticism written all over his face. "A bunch of kids sharing stories won't save this place. You all need to be realistic." Silence fell again. The crowd inside the garage still buzzed with energy, but doubt weighed heavily in Jake's heart. Could they really make a difference? Just then, the girl beside him lifted a hand, surprising everyone, including Mr. Everett. "Can I say something?" Her voice was small, but the courage behind it filled the air. When they nodded, she continued. "This garage isn't just bricks and mortar. It's where memories are born. It's where I learned about my dad's youth, his struggles, his dreams. Don't you see? We're fighting for those dreams." Feeling the room draw closer to her, Jake felt a swell of pride. This girl, a stranger moments ago, had become part of their cause. He turned to the group inside the garage. "Can we let her join us? Everyone has a story worth sharing, right?" "Yeah," someone shouted from behind him. The crowd began to murmur and nod in agreement. It was a ripple effect, spreading hope through the masses. But Mr. Everett shook his head, resolve firming his features. "You think words can change things? Whether you band together or not, this place is still going to fall to progress. You can't fight the city. But what if we don't just fight for this place?" Jake said, desperation creeping into his voice. "What if we fight for our community? For the connections built here?" The tension in the air shifted. Maybe there was a chance suddenly. A loud crash echoed from the darkened parking lot, shattering the moment. Jake's eyes widened as he turned toward the sound. What was that? Everyone held their breath, uncertainty clawing at their throats. A dark shape stumbled into view, a man, wild-eyed with fear. "You have to help me. They're coming," he shouted. Jake's heart raced. Who was this man? What had he stumbled upon? As silence fell again, one thought lingered. Whoever was coming might change everything. Jake stared at the frantic figure, heart pounding as the man drew closer, panting and desperate. The crowd instinctively pulled back, whispering among themselves, eyes wide like deer caught in headlights. "Who's coming?" Jake asked, stepping forward, determination outweighing his instinct to retreat. "They're after me," the man gasped, glancing nervously over his shoulder. "I don't have much time." His wild eyes darted, scanning the shadows creeping into the parking lot. "Calm down, okay?" Jake urged, lowering his voice. "You're safe here. Just tell us what's going on." The man breathlessly explained how he had witnessed a group of developers and their security team poking through the garage's archives, trying to dig dirt on the community to crush any hope of resistance. They're planning to make it look rundown, no value whatsoever, to justify bulldozing everything. A chill ran through Jake, freezing him in place. His skin prickled. This wasn't just a fight to save a building. It was about preserving their entire town's identity. "What can we do?" A voice called from the crowd. Frank stepped forward, his face drawn in concern but fierce courage. "Can we get proof of what they're planning?" "Absolutely," the man exclaimed, finding his footing despite the panic. "They've been talking about it for weeks. If we could get recordings or documents, that would change everything. They can't bulldoze the heart of this town if we expose them." Jake felt a surge of empowerment ripple through him. Turning to the crowd, he connected with each pair of eyes that mirrored his feelings: fear, determination, hope. "We can't let them destroy what we've built here. This is our chance to show the city that we're not going down without a fight." The crowd erupted in murmurs, the energy electric. Ideas flowed and planning began. They decided to split into teams. While some would work on gathering stories and support from the community, others would set a plan in motion to gather the evidence against the developers. Lily stood at Jake's side, her expression a mix of respect and admiration. "This is our moment, I assenti it?" she asked, passion igniting in her tone. "We're gonna turn this around." "Yeah," Jake replied, a newfound sense of purpose filling every word. "And whatever happens, we'll do it together." Hours turned into days as the town came alive with action. The garage transformed from an aging relic to a vibrant hub bustling with activity. Old photographs lined the walls, memories shared over cups of coffee and laughter. The stories emerged, louder and bolder than before, proving that this garage was no ordinary building. It was the pulse of their town. They documented every tale, beautiful and heartfelt, showcasing how intertwined their lives were with the garage. Through it all, that stranger's plea echoed in Jake's mind, a relentless drive urging him forward. When the day finally arrived for their grand presentation to the city council, anticipation thickened the air. The community gathered in the garage, a sea of familiar faces filled with hope and determination. Jake looked around, his heart swelling with pride. They had come so far together, standing strong against looming odds. As they marched into the council chamber, it felt like stepping onto the battlefield. Equipped with stories that resonated, laughter ringing through the air, they were more than a mere gathering. They were a force of unity. After presenting their collection of stories, the crowd watched with bated breath as Jake stepped forward with a sense of urgency. "This isn't just about a garage. It's about dreams built through hard work and love. It's about every individual who poured their time and heart into this place," he declared, voice breaking just enough to stir emotions. Silence hung over the chamber, eyes welling with tears as memories were shared. Tom, the councilman, sat silently, a frown etched on his features. But even he felt the shift in energy as the truth was laid bare. Together, Jake urged, sweeping his gaze across familiar faces, "We can show that this community is more than a statistic. We are a legacy worth protecting." The crowd erupted into roaring applause, a wave of emotion surging through the room. Hopes sparked like fireworks against the night sky as the council contemplated their words. A clear voice cut through the noise, the young woman who had come to help days before. She stepped forward, trembling but fierce. "This garage is more than metal and concrete. It's our home. We can't let the past be bulldozed away." The room echoed with chants, voices unified and unwavering. As the council deliberated, something shifted within the chamber. An invitation for dialogue replaced the notion of division. It became clear to everyone present that stories mattered. These were not just tales whispered on the wind. They were heroes battling for what truly mattered. And just like that, hope flickered in the air, brightened by the unity found amid the chaos. They had formed a bond deeper than roots. Finally, Tom stood. "I think there's something important to be said here. We shouldn't overshadow the voices of this community. Let us find a way to incorporate your plans and the future of this garage into our city's vision." Joy surged through the crowd like a tidal wave. They had fought hard, and now the end of one journey blended harmoniously into the birth of another as Jake looked around at the faces, illuminated by the glow of shared dreams. He realized that the journey had not just transformed the garage. It had transformed him and the community that had stood together through life's storms. The past might have held them captive, but collectively they had rewritten their future. And even amid uncertainty, they stood firm, committed to protect the world they cherished. Together, they had forged a new narrative, a story of resilience, hope, and undeniable love for their hometown. Jake took a deep breath, finally feeling the weight lift off his shoulders as smiles radiated around him. They had made it. "Let us get back to work," he called, a radiant smile breaking through. "Our story has just begun." The crowd burst into cheers, laughter filling the garage, blending seamlessly with the sounds of engines and dreams awakening. In this moment, they were alive, together, and undeniably stronger than ever before. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share your love for this journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Don't hold back. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our channel through these crucial actions.